Hello, BookTube. Sorry for the absence this week. This has been a very frustrating BookTube week for me. I've wanted to make a number of videos, and those videos just did not pan out. So today I have 3 videos I want to make. This first video is a try chapter tag. Over the last few weeks, I have been obsessed with the idea of trying the first chapters and perhaps a little bit more of various works of history that have been on my shelves for either way too long or that I've recently added but want to see if I would want to complete. Unfortunately, this try chapter tag did not work out as I had hoped. So let's get going. So on Monday, I dipped into America, A New History of the New World by Grandin. This is a history of the Americas, from the beginnings of the Spanish conquest up through, I want to say sometime in the 20th century. I don't think the book goes into the 21st, but I could be wrong because obviously I did not get that far. I read the first chapter, which is about the pricking of the conscience of Bartolomeo de las Casas, who was a Dominican friar who was in the New World and is most famous for writing a condemnation of the Spanish treatment of the native inhabitants of the Caribbean. But before he had this change of conscience, he was very much involved. He made his wealth through being a friar, a priest to the conquest. I did not get on with this book at all. There's something about the tone that set me off. And I've been struggling to define what exactly that tone is. Why does it bug me so much? And the best way I can describe it is that even though I largely agree with the sentiments of the author of Grandin, that the tone is very off-putting. And maybe the best way would be a more hectoring tone, maybe a sense that the author, the historian, is enraged by the subject matter that they're studying, and that rage, that anger is barely contained beneath the surface. But that tone always just raises my hackles. So this did not work at all for me. On Tuesday, I tried How the World Made the West, a 4,000-year history by Josephine Quinn. So this is a history of the ancient world and how certain ideas originating outside of what has come to be called the West originated elsewhere, or something like that. The first chapter largely looks at ancient trade routes during the Bronze Age and before, and how Quinn introduces this idea with a somewhat fictionalized take really left me going, what the hell? What are you thinking? I don't like that style at all. Now, I recently picked these 2 books up because they were long listed. This one did not advance. This one made the shortlist of this year's Kindle History Prize, of which the ultimate winner, if you don't know, was The Summer of Fire and Blood by Lyndall Roper, which I also didn't particularly care for. Okay, so moving on to Wednesday, I dipped into A Royal Experiment, The Private Life of King George III by Janice Hadlow. So this is a family biography of George III. So it's a biography of George III with the special focus of being on his family. And the first parts of the book are more about the earlier Hanoverian monarchs, George I, George II, and the uncrowned Frederick, who was George III's father and who predeceased his son. Which is why there's never been a King Frederick of the United Kingdom. But anyway, so this book has a more narrative, a more popular style of writing, but I found myself losing interest. I thought that maybe there needed to be some editing. That some things got a little too into the weeds, and I found myself losing interest. So this one did not work either. And yesterday, I was despairing. I was trying to figure out what to do, and I thought, well, maybe I could finally try Voodoo and Power by Kodi A. Roberts. And I looked at the introduction, and I said, no. So that ended that. And so while this retry chapter tag wasn't successful in the fact that none of these books panned out for me, my trying a chapter of these books, I think, highlighted the fact that where I am at right now in my reading life, I'm not really in the mood for history. So at least there was that positive, that I've kind of figured that out, and that maybe I need to stop fighting myself so much. And so, yeah. So at least that worked out. Anyway, BookTube, I will be back shortly with weekly reads, which will only be One Piece by Eiichiro Oda. And then after that, my November reading plans. So stick around. We'll be back shortly. So until then, thank you. Have a great, right now it's morning, so have a great morning and stay safe.